You're listening to VGS on Talk Radio, AM 640.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Thomas. You made my Christmas with that. That is, of course, Titus. You remember his last name, Anton?
It is.
I don't know. I'm asking you. I don't know what it is from Final Fantasy X.
Either.
Whatever. That is Titus's iconic laugh from Final Fantasy X. We're bringing it up because we had a chance to play Final Fantasy 15. And by we, it's not the royal we. It is just Anton and I.
Woo!
Yes, indeed. Everyone else excited. What was that? Sorry?
That was my excitement alarm.
Okay, excitement alarm. B.O. Okay.
Mama Brand.
Mama Brand giving texts. It's too late on a Sunday night. So, Anton, very, very excited. You're a huge Final Fantasy fan.
Yes.
How much of a fan are you?
I'd say like on a scale of 10, about 11.
1 to 10, because 10 would be the base. Okay. So, huge fan. We got a chance to see it all thanks to the team at Square Enix. They came down here and just essentially gave us the game to play for hours. And we were the two that stopped at every moment, looked through the menu, saw everything that you could do, and really went in depth. Some other YouTubers just kind of played through. But we really got to see the nuts and bolts of this game.
Was it just the first few hours?
Yeah, it was the game. They gave us the game, so we played through it.
The first few.
Yeah, the very first few, what other people would experience. And I left that 2-hour gameplay session feeling like this is one of my must-gets of the year. Like, I wasn't really excited about it because it is so esoteric and Japanese and different. And I kind of dropped off Final Fantasy after 10.
Yeah.
But this felt like I was booting up Final Fantasy 10 again.
So as not a regular Final Fantasy fan, are you extremely excited to get it?
I am extremely excited to get it, and for the other two on the panel here, Zach and Liam, I hope that we can entice you because it is.
This has been my.
Okay, Liam. Well, you ruined the bit.
I've not played.
Zach,
I'll be
keep
honest.
it coming.
All right, I've not played a Final Fantasy game. They're very, again, like you said, esoteric, very Japanese.
Okay, so he's xenophobic and racist.
No,
so this.
But I'm telling you, if you liked it, what's the appeal?
Okay,
to
well here we
someone
go.
like me?
Let's get you going through the beginning of the game, what we actually got to play. So we were sat down, and you're introduced to this really strange world. It's very ornate, Japanese and weird. You have warp weapons. They set the stage as, this is going to be like a traditional Final Fantasy game, dealing with these kind of Rose of War of the Roses time period type of battles with these families dueling. Then it goes from that to you in a fancy car going on a literal road trip through the countryside with the 3 kind of ornate Victorian bodyguards that you had. So that's how it started. And the whole game, you're playing with your teammates.
Yeah, your teammates. So first, you are Noctis, the main character, the prince of the world that you are about to explore. There is Ignis, who is the nerd, right? He wore
he was the fancy. He was the intellectual one of the Spice Girls.
He wore glasses, so he's the nerd.
Yes.
He's like, pinky
That's how
finger
Japanese
up
people see the
as he
world.
drinks.
So keep going.
Yeah, there is Gladiolus, who is the big brute.
Yeah, the tough one, the Orin of the group.
Yeah, and then there's Prompto, who is the Joker, the jester of the group. You would say?
He's the one that kind of sounds like this that you've heard in all the games.
He's got the super Asian hair, so his hair is like not slicked back, but like up like a Super Saiyan. Like, it's cool.
You're introduced to the game with Florence and the Machine's beautiful rendition of "Stand by Me" as you're starting to push. Yep.
Is that a joke?
No.
Are you serious?
That's how you're introduced to the game.
Okay.
So it's incredibly beautiful, and it's you and your characters, your brothers almost, pushing this vehicle because it's not working. So what we played was from there, we went to a rest stop, we explored the world a little bit, and you walk out with your team of 3 and explore and go hunting, and it feels really, really weird. It feels very, very odd on its face. But the things that I think really stood out for me was how the story was told by showing rather than telling. There's a little bit of exposition at the beginning of, oh, yeah, I'm a prince. That must mean something to someone in some way. But once you actually got in the game, there were a lot of different ways that this game felt more real and alive than any game I've ever played. We talked about in Tyranny how much we liked that it gave you kind of little bits, breadcrumbs almost.
Yeah.
It felt so similar to that. So let's start off with your teammates, how they reacted around you.
So as you walked around, interacted with different objects, your teammates wouldn't just follow you around. They would actually be alive and do their own things. So at one point, we had 2 of our party members actually talking to each other while me and another party member were exploring the, I guess, the pit stop that we were at.
So it's a little thing to think about, but if you have a group of 4 and you're walking through an area, they'll turn around and look and interact with each other. And if you, we broke the game trying to figure out what you could do. If you run 2 consecutively with this, they'll be like, my God, like, stop this. I'm friggin' tired. I can't handle this. It was amazing how interactive the team was, where you saw outside of a diner a little poster for a very spicy curry that you interact with. And then one of your teammates is like, oh, yeah, we got to get that. He runs inside the diner beforehand, and we literally bought it, and it boosted up our team.
Yeah.
So little things like that.
5 out of 5.
See, it's weird when you
curry.
say it, but it's just it just is such an incredible experience that all the little pieces came together to make something really, really fun. So it's, well, Anton, you got a chance really to play as well, a lot of it. So what else can you tell me, I guess, about the emergent story that was really interesting?
One really fun thing that you find in other video games, but this game did really well, was telling the story while you were doing things. So you know how in other games you'll drive a car and then they'll say stuff, but you're not really listening?
Right.
In this one, they do a really good job of forcing you to listen to the radio as you're driving through and hearing all the things that are happening to your homeland.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, you're driving around in the car and then you hear a news report about a bunch of your, I guess, allies and friends dying. And in a normal game, you probably would have just glazed over and just been like, oh, whatever, like, it doesn't really matter. But in this one, we were listening so intently to this news story on the radio in the car.
As your other teammates wanted to be like, change the channel. I didn't really like this.
Yeah.
So there's so many different little ways that this game comes together to tell you a story, but it just feels so alive. We jumped over a small, like I did this a lot, and the guys thought I was crazy, just jumping over a small wall that goes up to your knees. Noctis has 4 different animations to do that. And that sounds silly, but there's a few games that do that. Uncharted and The Last of Us do the same thing. And these little intangible qualities, I think, make a world feel alive that you want to explore it. And they really lean into the idea of survival.
It's interesting that you make that comparison to The Last of Us, because that's exactly what I was thinking of when you were talking about the way that your teammates interact with the world. I remember Ellie would often run off and pick up a book and come back with it and talk about it, and that really sold me on the world and on that relationship. So it's cool to see that pop up in other games.
Now imagine you had that in a much lighter tone. There is a very strong, Japanese current through this game. There really is, and it's powerful and it's fun, and we really, really love it. But you have things like survival skills, like Noctis gains points for fishing, and Ignis gains points for cooking, and you find different things in the world to cook for you.
House.
Listen, it's not even house, but it's when you're making camp. So the way that you level up in this game is to park your car, and this is a Final Fantasy game. Or you make camp in a place and build a fire and literally cook food for the people.
I think this should be like a commercial. Level up by parking your car and cooking food in a camp.
I'm telling you, it sounds so silly and it's hard to convey, but those little things like the conversations that these characters will have feel alive and fun and exciting. And there's something we haven't touched on. Like, this world also has huge monsters that you have to battle all around it.
FYI.
Yeah, just like all around in the wilderness. There's not like coyotes and things like that. There's monsters coming through. So Anton, why don't we go into the fighting a little bit? Because the other Final Fantasy games had a very distinct way of fighting. This one is flipping it on its head.
Yeah, this one, past Final Fantasy games, as you guys have probably known, are very turn-based, but this one allows you to react on the spot. You're no longer forced to wait for your turn. You are actually allowed to just be like, you know what, this guy's coming for me. I'm going to either counter, dodge, attack him right on the spot. And it does it really well because you have an MP bar that will allow you to do these specific special moves. And it limits you, but at the same time, if you're smart about it, you can continue to attack without having to
it was
stop.
like you said, it was very strategic and very fun and active. Okay. And it was easy to use too. Really, really easy to use. Tons of customizability. And this game also does something that we just love besides Liam and his pizza Pringles. It shows a story of someone's life. because we get to see Noctis as a child, and you get to see him more as an adult. And I'm looking for a game that will show a real brotherhood story. Like this game really felt like a very powerful road trip story with brotherhood and learning kind of to come in your own and what it means to have a family. That's what I felt from a Final Fantasy game about Moogles and Chocobo. I felt like just finding some more insight on the human condition. I could not be any more excited.
And I don't mean to like plug their multimedia side of things, but there is this mini anime series on YouTube that Square developed that gives a backstory to that kind of brotherhood you're talking about, and really helps establish their relationship further. And it's quite well done. I definitely recommend you check it out.
So it's a huge, big budget, tons of fun. Any final words here, Anton? Because we do have to get going.
If you are looking for a game with a grand scheme, but at the same time giving you that love and affection that you've always wanted from a Final Fantasy game, this is the one for you. You want a massive you want awesome combat, you want story, you want all of that. That's for you. This is the title of the year.
All right, so
I really love and affection.
Like it really did kind of feel like a title of the year sort of game. So Zach, is there anything? Excuse me, anything that we said here that could convince you?
Absolutely. A game that's focused on using detail to craft story and immersion. Perfect. Sounds like a game.
We got a perfect from Professor Z, baby. Woo! All right, we got to take a break. Big thanks to everyone. We'll be right back.